Hello, folks. Good evening. You're welcome to another edition of Just Banter. My name is Habib Enyola, and it's, as usual, it's been an interesting week. Interesting times in Nigeria's history, especially with the NSAS, the way things started, the way it picked up, and then the way things just took another dramatic turn. Originally, the NSAS, what was it about? It was about advocacy to try to stop bullying, robbery, and all sorts of lawless stuff that the Special Anti-Robbery Squad all over the nation were doing. A lot of young people were being targeted. A lot of them probably, for the way they dressed and all that, so there was a lot of profiling. Now, because of that profiling, a lot of stuff happened. A lot of accusations about very deep and serious crimes. A man holding a gun, asking you for something by force is armed robbery. Also, alleged extortion, all sorts of stuff of young people. Young people make up about 60% of the block in Nigeria. They are very powerful. So they came out protesting, saying you must end SAS. It was hot. It was very hot. Scary, tense moments for the entire country, especially the political class. Nobody truly needs Pandora's box. Oh yeah, and what has happened? Well, in the first place, you had all sorts of hoodlums hijacking the protests, and then next thing we saw was mass looting across board in several states across the country. Now, with all the looting that was taking place, a massive discovery. Apparently, there were COVID-19 palliatives that the federal government had said that they had distributed quite a while back to several states, and the states were supposed to have distributed to people. But people never got them. Well, a few people got them, but they were probably political associates of the people who were in charge, in small pockets of places. But in most cases, all this food was stored in warehouses. Why were these food stored in warehouses? This was supposed to be distributed to people. The COVID-19 pandemic struck and hit the entire world, especially Nigeria, around March. It was shortly after that the Coalition Against COVID-19, COVID, came up, which was the private sector in conjunction with the CBN. They came up and they decided that they needed to do something to support the federal government in terms of giving out aid and palliatives to the people. But at the end of the day, what happened? Did the people really get the palliatives? They didn't. But hey, we don't know why they didn't get it. There have been lots of allegations back and forth. Somebody even said he was going to distribute the palliatives on his birthday. Can you believe that? A member of the House of Assembly in Lagos State. On his birthday? Really? Well, we don't know a lot. What we do know is there are people out there who have some small information about different kind of things that have happened around this COVID-19 palliatives and all of that. Tonight, we're talking to a young politician. He ran for the Kogi East senatorial zone in the last elections. He is a young, astute politician who has a lot to offer Nigeria, as far as I know, as far as I'm concerned. That's my personal opinion. But I've spoken to him once or twice, and I can tell that he's a deep, deep gentleman, and he actually knows what he's talking about most of the time. We want to find out if it is a case of most of the time by discussing with Kevin Akoje tonight. Kevin is a fantastic guy. I'll bring Kevin on shortly. Hi, Kevin.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Great. I'd say it's a public holiday, so salute to the Muslim folk on the birth of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Oh,
and
no,
great to be here.
That's a politician talking. So for myself, I probably should have said the same thing, but because we are non-partisan, non-religious, and we don't promote any form of religiosity on the platform, I didn't mention that. But a politician, because I'm sure you're a Christian, Kevin, but you remember that You do have Muslim brothers across the nation. I remember to send out a greeting to them. That's fantastic. Now, that's the type of thing that we've been trying to get, try to foster some sort of deep relationship where everybody is tolerant of everybody's views, everybody's religions, and everybody's wants and needs. Now, unfortunately, there seems to be a lot of division in the country, deep division. But the division we're beginning to see now, is it a case of it's the rich versus the poor? Because when you look at the issue of the COVID palliatives, Kevin,
Yes.
What happened there? But before you answer that, quick question. What are your thoughts on the NSAS movement before we move into the COVID palliatives?
Okay, I'd say the NSAS, in matter of speaking, as a linguist also, it was a figure of speech, an aspiration, an idea that needed a basic burden fruit to come up. And the public outcry against the Nigerian Police Force Department of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad basically gave it a voice. And by individuals lending their appeal towards police brutality, basically individuals in the Nigerian police force expressing their excesses unconstitutionally and outside the Nigerian Police Force Act. Individuals now came in and said, we cannot go this way anymore. And so in the light of that, the NSAS campaign now had a basic voice cut across
Hello, Kevin.
all boundaries. I can hear you, sir. Cut across all boundaries.
So we seem to have lost Kevin there for a few short seconds. Now, COVID-19, NSAS, Pandora's box. Kevin, are you back?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. I was just apologizing to the folks that we lost you for a second there. So you were answering the question. What were your thoughts on the NSAS?
Yes, a beautiful appeal. Like we all know, a revolution or a mass appeal or idea needs a basic burden fruit to come out. And the NSAS basically came in timely, as a matter of speaking, for individuals to come and express their basic ideas on governance, on issues as it relates to our domestic realities. Yes, we have lent our appeal to Black Lives Matter. We have lent our appeal to Zimbabwean Lives Matter. We've lent our appeal to a whole lot of activities, being that we are the Black most populous country.
For the past couple of days, I'd like to apologize. For the past couple of days, should I say like a week and a half, there have been issues with the network.
True.
Hello, Kevin, are you back?
Yes, I'm here. Interestingly, my stream is actually live. It hasn't disconnected, so I'm surprised that at your end, you were having the disparity in the network.
Well, maybe they don't want us to talk about the COVID palliatives and all. They don't want us to expose it a little bit more about it. So maybe they're trying to throw some spanners in the works kind of stuff. But go ahead, we're with you.
Yes, so in the light of that, individuals came and expressed their own personal ideas. Remember, in the study of politics and the analysis of he who gets what, when, and how, we have different pockets of intelligence and individuals amounting to what we call constituencies, expressing ideas or ideations about their views and who should lead them in politics or who should be their leaders. And so basically putting that to bear, the NSAS appeal came in and served as a vehicle for all of these ideas to be expressed. And so it started as a matter of speaking. That's why I call it a figure of speech. And so when the federal government and the IG of police basically expressed their announcement of the such as Special Anti-Robbery Squad has been scrapped, it seems as though they had assuaged our appeals to what we wanted. And for me, that was a shallow thought process, because ending SARS and police brutality was just a tip of the iceberg of the ideas that the individuals wanted. Remember, a government does not exist in isolation. A government draws its power from the people. And so if the persons and the people in which the government draws her power are aspiring or expressing a particular appeal, and remember, the individuals who basically were the forefront of this struggle were the Nigerian youths. I don't want to put figures in your mouth, but we know the perspective and the amount of percentage in the Nigerian population that amount to the Nigerian youth. And
Yeah.
so many years ago, I was told that we are the leaders of tomorrow. And so if the leaders of tomorrow put their caps on their head on Monday and say we want our leadership today and we want our leadership as thus, then it means the leadership or the government of the people, albeit a democratic government, need to listen and then attend to our appeals, which they did, starting from the scrapping of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad.
Oh, wow.
And then we need to follow suit with the remaining ideations. Yes, there are pockets of intelligence all over the place, expressing appeals 5 over 5, 5 over 11, 11 over 11, 12, 21 over 21. Yes, multiple ideas were coming up, but if you notice, the ideas that were coming up were not in isolation. The basic amalgamation of all that we wanted in the polity that was wrong. And we had every right to aspire or to express our grievances to a government that we elected. Remember, we are still in a democratically elected government. And so we had every right constitutionally to express our appeals. In this case, albeit in peaceful protests, until we had the other side that we all got to see now, and is the bane of our discussion today, the COVID-19 palliatives, which were humbly donated as part of corporate social responsibility programs of corporate organizations who felt that they should not let the government of the day bear the brunt of the challenge they experienced in COVID-19, which spanned across a couple of months. We're not the only one that felt the brunt of COVID-19 challenges because we are in a committee of nations, and if anybody said they had planned to express or they had situational awareness before now on this matter, it would be a lie. And so we all basically ran into the COVID-19 and got to learn as the day goes by. And now we call it the new normal. Some people call it the future. Some people call it life as we have it now. But however I want to put it in perspective, a couple of persons said they want to lend their appeal to the government of the day, which is beautiful. Hence the word corporate social responsibility. And they put themselves together and donated sums to the government, albeit in material value and not cash, as has been the bane of existence over time, especially in our clients in West Africa. And so they donated materials in value, and we got to see them. Initially, we didn't know what those materials were donated. But now, at least, we know that there was Indomie, there was noodles, let me call it, there was spaghetti, there was rice, a couple of staple foods that we all know in our clients. We're all part of the materials that were donated for this. And in all fairness to the individuals who donated these materials to the government, they did their own part. And so it was left for the other people at the other side to express their own readiness to their own people to share these palliatives across board. In your introductory statement, you talked about the government as a whole, their own palliatives, and it was met with a whole lot of drama, and materials didn't go around, as the case may be. And so to think that what the private sector put in place was shy of $500 million, that's 27 billion, is what we are seeing all over the nation being looted, albeit peacefully or non-peacefully. So then we imagine the numerical amount of what the government actually put together as the palliatives. I don't think we'll be able to see a wide reach of persons having those palliatives that the government actually put out there as palliatives as a state. And then now we have a private sector, and then it is all over the place. We had individuals posting pictures online of what they took to their different houses, individuals cutting away with materials, both from uniform officers to non-uniform men, to individuals wearing vests and short knickers and what have you, male and female alike. So for me, the private sector played their part, and the private sector, if at all, will put some level of blame to them. It was not enough to basically give these goods to these people. We have supply chain experts cut across the country, nationwide, that they would have also engaged in consultancy to micromanage the states. Because a basic defense that we're getting back to back from the states is that they kept them waiting for the second wave of the COVID-19. In Hausa, they say Rayuwa de mere akenta. So if you want to live, you need to be, if you want to actually survive, you need to be alive. And so if they did not eat those food when it was supposed to be given to them, is it when the second wave of the of COVID-19 comes that they would have died that you want to give them those materials? That's wrong.
Well, I don't know if you can hear me, but it seems like
Supply chain experts
the network keeps going
that
in
would
and
have,
out.
go
ahead.
Supply chain experts that would have set the ball rolling. As the goods were coming in, they were being sent out, or they are being sent out to the various locations. They are mapped out. The quality is mapped out, and you say, okay, we're starting with first 3 local governments. So there's no way you can say a case of basically, like we call in politics, double voting. Maybe individuals getting their rations double, because you have mapped out the local governments, you have mapped out the entire state into local governments or wards, as the case may be, and they are still sharing. And so as the private sector coalition is bringing those materials, they are continuing the distribution and not telling us that they warehoused it waiting for it to be complete or not complete, or they warehoused it waiting for the 2nd of December, my birthday, to now start sharing it to the populace. No, for me, I believe those perspectives are completely out of place. They should own up to their responsibility and to their wrong and seek to right these wrongs from the people who elected them into power. Remember, they are not holding that power in their own order. They are holding it in trust for us. And so they are accountable to us. And more especially, they need us to survive, and we need them also to run the polity. So we're supposed to be working hand in hand, a complete handshake, to ensure that the polity continues to thrive and exist.
So for those of you who are watching this, those listening, and you don't know of Kevin Akoje, Kevin is one of the directors at the Electoral College. But interestingly, Kevin was probably the youngest senatorial candidate in the entire country at the 2019 elections. Hence, his political perspective when he's talking. So, very interesting that you have somebody who is not in the system, but is a politician and he has some experience. So he's able to answer some questions that a lot of you might have. So if you have any questions for Kevin, please send them in the comment section, and Kevin will take the questions one after the other. Now, Kevin, what I find intriguing is this. Who knew that the Lekki toll gate was going to expose palliatives being hidden in different warehouses across the country? Now, it was just simply a case of NSAS protests, and then the government decided, you know what, it was time to shut this down. Then they themselves now sent soldiers to go and try to put some order at the Lekki toll gate, not knowing that it was going to have such a ripple effect where more questions will be asked of the government. Now, the federal minister in charge of the COVID-19 palliatives and all that said she had distributed these palliatives to several states. And she's claiming now that she's vindicated. But from all the videos that we have seen, what we can see, all those bags tagged as is COVID, which is a coalition against COVID, meaning that donations from the private sector. So where are the palliatives from the federal government?
For me, that's a major question we need to ask. At least on social media, we got to see a couple of persons stating their basic ideas on their receipts of these palliatives from the federal government. And I'd say if what we had with the COVID palliatives that were distributed vis-a-vis what the government distributed, I'd say for what that was less than 30 billion distributed by the private sector coalition alongside what the government distributed, it seems as though what the private sector distributed was more, of which, based on numerical value as we have it on documents by the government stating what they basically expressed to the people, it wasn't that much. If for anything I didn't receive any palliatives, let's put it on record. I don't know Seniola, I don't know if you got to get any of the palliatives that were shared by the government. I'd love to know what was in it, because I didn't get to receive any, and I don't have any friends of mine that received any. So just in case anybody received, I'm glad you did, but it didn't go round. Let's call a spade a spade. And the people of Nigeria are still met with hunger. And the United Nations still has it as the bane of one of her global goals in seeing her possible best to eradicate poverty, albeit by 2030. So we need to all work hand in hand to ensure that the basic aspirations of the individuals met in any policy are met. The basic theory posits that we should have food, lighting, housing, security, and what have you. And so by the time the government of the day cannot deliver on these basic needs, I guess we'll just call it what we had in a couple of years back when they said that it means the country is a failed state. Because if she cannot provide all of those basic amenities, then we don't know what she's doing, because politicking is just one of the things that happen in a polity. Politicking is not enough to ensure the livelihood and the means of sustenance of any community or any geopolitical zone. A whole lot is brought to bear in ensuring the survival of everybody.
But why would they,
as also
Kevin,
the lapses met with the distribution of the COVID-19 also brings to bear the basic inadequacies of government that needs to be addressed squarely.
Kevin, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Abiba, I can hear you.
Okay, so my question was, but why would anybody want to play politics with such a thing? Now, we'll play a quick video just as a refresher. One of the videos I've been circulating on social media. Just as a refresher, people see it, and then we'll continue from there. We'll be back shortly after this. So, Kevin.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello?
I'm here.
Hello?
I can hear you, Habib. Can you hear
me?
Hello,
Kevin?
Leaving my hand. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yes. So, I can hear you now, but my screen seems to be frozen. I don't know what's going on with the internet connection, but anyways, if you can hear me, then that's fine. Now, that's so much food.
In just one location.
One location. How would anybody play politics with something like that? Especially in such a time when you have a pandemic, and it's a global pandemic. People are suffering it everywhere in the world, and they can see the efforts that people are making on these things. Why would anybody want to play politics with that type of issue?
Like we said, we always love to have quick wins. Unfortunately, like we've been called in the Committee of Nations, we are an underdeveloped country. We are called least developed countries, LDCs. And the basic bane of our aspiration is to survive, or basically to assuage the stomach infrastructure. And so he who assuages the stomach infrastructure basically holds the might or holds the whip to put everybody in perspective. And so it's not surprising to have politicians wanting to wield that particular stick against our own people, because they know to get quick wins, they can bring those palliatives at strategic time that they deem fit and put it to bear, and also basically draw political power from those same gifts, which were not theirs to speak with or to start with, which were provisions from a group of persons, well-meaning Nigerians who are doing businesses in Nigeria, trying to lend their appeal to the people that they're existing within. You know, so it's rather sad that we saw the stomach infrastructure the basic lapses in the average Nigerian man, and then sought to play politics, in this case, hunger infrastructure, to assuage that hunger at their own strategic timing to get quick gains from the electorate. Because whether we like it or not, we have a couple of by-elections that were supposed to have taken place at this time, but were postponed by the election management body. And we had a couple of executive seats that are running for the gubernatorial, and a couple that are still yet to come. And 2023 elections is just by the corner. And so it's no surprise that politicians are, albeit shallow as it is in their thought process, wanting to exploit this action and share those things when they want and when they deem fit to get those quick gains. But it's a rather unfortunate situation. Hello, Habib. Are you there? Hello, Habib. Are you there?
Okay, yeah. So I lost you there for a second. Like I said, probably they don't want us to be discussing this COVID-19 palliatives because it's such a sensitive issue. It is something that actually, turned the kind of events in this country, because how can people who are already taking so much out of the state in terms of perks and allowances now actually starve people at such a time? Now, from one of our viewers, she's saying that, her name is Polake Oyewo, she says, if you look at it thoroughly, it's more like an agreement at the governor's forum not to distribute the palliative. And I agree to a certain extent, because how come it seems like it is every state, except for probably Borno, how come it is every state that those palliatives were actually still in warehouses? And like you rightly stated earlier on, you have logistics and supply experts in the country, both in the private sector and in the public sector. How come they did not have a holistic plan on these things once they were delivered to them? Why would you spend so much money to buy these things and allow more than half of it to rot in the warehouse? Because if you had not distributed it at that time, or it had not been discovered by people, a lot of those stuff would have gone, to rot. Some of the Gary that they saw was already getting spoiled.
Yeah.
So I mean, not just a case of getting the food to the people, but people were also starving in their pockets. People didn't have money. So if you had actually given logistics and supply experts some small contracts, distribute this food, you have even still created some form of activity in the economy at that point in time, where everything seems to have gone stale. How can they do this? How can they go that far for politics?
Like I earlier reiterated, they will go that far. It won't stop today, and it won't stop tomorrow. Because even in advanced democracies, the carrot and stick mentality still exists, and is what we hold there, or what we put as value, that we use to basically get quick wins. And so the lesson we should be drawing from this is, how can we avoid this happening again? Because we are here, we're a country, we've been amalgamated since 1914, and yes, we have basic quest for secession, left, right, and center, but until then, we are one unified body called Nigeria. And until we cease to exist, we must thrive in this polity and as a member of the Committee of Nations. And so, how can we avoid this happening in the future? It is necessary that we have a complete handshake between the private sector and the public sector. Let it not be as though we are existing in different climes, all in one country. And so, if we have that harmonious relationship, and we have the private sector expressing their ideas, extending their banks, and breaking their wallets for persons that make their economy or that swell their pockets, then it's necessary that the government basically puts in place a working environment to help them express those appeals. And we know that the corporate social responsibility of corporate organizations of this nature does not even end in palliatives. A couple of them have been doing promotions back, left, right, and center, basically towards assuaging their customers and making them feel part of their brands. And
Yeah.
so government needs to create an available environment to ensure that they continue to thrive as businessmen, as economic concerns, to ensure that the economics of scale is trickled down from the top to the bottom. And so if you can put that in place in a holistical means, map it out correctly, all will be well in the ecosystem. And like we say, the monies that we have from the top will trickle down to the base bottom, and the situation that comes to bear in politics, where on election day a ballot box will appear in the most remote location where there is a polling unit, but power that is necessary for livelihood or good and motorable roads or sustainable government do not exist in those locations. But when it comes to elections, we have ballot boxes appearing in those locations. And as the case may be, those are even the many locations that we used to call the X factor that determines who wins an election. So those are the basic things that need to be brought to bear and sorted out to avoid an occasion of this in the nearest future, because we need to solve these basic limitations to ensure that we continue to thrive as a people and as a country. Hello, Habib, are you there?
Okay, yes. So, like I said, and I apologize to the viewers as well. The internet connection keeps going in and out. Now, we're going to take a short break. And when we get back, we're going to be discussing the response that a lot of these politicians have been giving. One even said something about his birthday. I can't remember precisely what he said, but when we get back, we will talk about all those types of response that crack you up coming from Nigerian politicians on the issue of the COVID-19 palliative. We'll be back shortly after this commercial break. Hello, good evening. If you're just joining us, you're welcome to another edition of Just Banter. My name is Habib Enyola, and I have a great guest on tonight. His name is Kevin Akoje. Fantastic fellow. Like I said, Kevin probably was the youngest senatorial candidate in the entire country at the 2019 elections. And this evening, we are discussing the COVID-19 Palliatives Shocker. Food being discovered in several warehouses across the country. How? Why? What exactly has been transpiring? Now, a lot of these politicians, Kevin, have been giving all sorts of hilarious responses. One went as far as saying that his birthday, he was going to distribute the palliatives on his birthday. What did that have to do with anything? Why would the politician take public this, the palliatives? Why would he take that and want to distribute that on his birthday? How did we get here?
Can I pick up from here?
Yes, please. Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, earlier on I expressed the fact that we have been boldly lumped up into what we call least developed countries, and the lack of basic amenities is such that it leads us to feed only or strive to resolve our stomach infrastructure. And so, drawing from that, the politicians who seek to basically get political power or already are in political power look for cheap wins to get their ideas up to the populace. And so now, let's not put all the blame on the politicians. Now, the average Nigerian citizen, Nigeria is ours to survive in, to protect, to hold, and to keep close. And so it's also part of our duty to ensure that the ecosystem thrives, regardless of what we have felt or the brunt or the pain of the ecosystem. It's our duty to maintain individual responsibility. Remember when the NSAS came through and the police, who are the teeth of the executive, basically went to the background. We saw a wanton looting of both public and private property, the destruction of private property. Why? Because the police basically had to soft pedal their actions. We on our own were the ones that came back and said, please, we need the policemen back on our, because without them, there'll be complete law and order. And what happens when the life of man is nasty, brutish, and short. These ideations are not what we need to come to bear in our time. And so to avoid all those drama, or as we call it, stories that touch, the policemen came back to the environment. And so it means that they still have a vital role in the society, and we need to play our part. Regardless of the hunger, it doesn't mean that we will basically descend into lack of a basic loss of civility. That is completely wrong. And so, in as much as we are under the brunt of hunger, there are means in which we can survive in a country. We have extensive land for agriculture. We are an entrepreneurial people. And then we still have locations in Nigeria where the barter system has still been practiced till date. And so that we are hungry does not give us a right to descend into complete chaos and want to assuage only our basic stomach infrastructure and then shut down the entire principles and elements of government. So let's basically put it side by side, the government, the private sector, and then the individuals that exist in these qualities. We all have a share of the blame, and it's basically us having to see how we can meet each other midway, because we are not going anywhere. This is a country of our hope. This is a country of our dreams, and she can only get better. Hello, Habib, are you there?
Okay, yeah. So sorry, lost you there for a second. Now, this is what Femi Adesina, the presidential spokesman, had to say about the ongoing looting across the country. He says looters not necessarily hungry, it is pure greed. Would you say that that is a fair statement coming from the presidency?
I will not blame him. His belly is filled, and so this is his own perspective. Remember, everybody is viewing the situations that went down.
Is this his own perspective or the perspective of the federal government?
No, I have to put it in his own perspective. Like I said, we are sharing the blame fairly and equally. Let's not, yes, he's representing the position and he's supposed to be expressing ideas on behalf of the commander-in-chief. And so when individuals, will I use the adjective, carelessly express their own personal opinions on behalf of the state, it becomes a problem. Hence the need for their positions to be checked. And then, look, they're not necessarily hungry. Are you serious? Even the United Nations know that there's poverty in the world. And so by the time you say they're not necessarily hungry, then it's a problem. Because we had cases where we have individuals in uniform trying to save their own bellies. They are existing in an economy where their jobs are not well remunerated. They are being forced to work basically in outright slavery in the new era, in 2020. And then a case appears where there's some means of succor and they shouldn't put their fingers into it. That is where corruption comes to be. If everybody had what they needed at the material time, they are well remunerated, they are existing in an organization where basic needs are met and put in place, what is the need for corruption? We see advanced democracies where a prime minister is taking a throne. But in Nigeria, We have cases whereby an executive officer is basically appearing to talk to the people with a whole armada of security, trying to express an appeal to his own people that elected him into power. And so you now wonder, where is the disconnect between the governed and the governed? Because the last time I checked, we are supposed to be working together. I occupying an executive role is supposed to appear in my location where the people elected me, and I will not have any problem or case of or worry of insecurity, because the people that elected me are supposed to protect me also. But because there has been a gross disconnect in between the governed and the governed, hence this lapses. And so when we have persons like the spokesperson saying looters were not necessarily hungry, it's pure greed, I wonder, because in many cases, we didn't get to see one person holding 3 bags of rice. He carried only one, as the grace of God could give him to carry. And so if you are saying a bag of rice for a family is too much and you call it greed, I wonder what you are calling your salary. Because if we actually go to the minimum wage and we issue out minimum wage across board, do we think that the minimum wage will be able to solve the basic limitations of the average man in Nigeria, especially in the year 2020? It's very wrong.
I actually even looked at the statement, and as far as I was concerned, it was quite contradictory, because you say, when you say looters not necessarily hungry, so you're admitting that some people are hungry, but in the same vein, you now say it is pure greed, an absolute validation of your contradiction, because how can you say some people are hungry and then you now say, but they are greedy? How is that? How is that even possible? How can you come up and say stuff like that? I found it quite distressing, because as far as I was concerned, even if we have bad governance, should we have bad communication between the government and the people? Even if you're going to have bad communication, so bad that it seems condescending of the needs of the people, because that's exactly what it is by saying it is pure greed. How can you make that kind of qualification, knowing exactly what is going on globally, as a matter of fact, because a lot of people have lost their incomes because of lockdowns and all sorts of stuff. There are young Nigerians trying to go into e-commerce. They depend on being able to sell their goods and services outside the shores of Nigeria. Now, if there are lockdowns and business has slowed down all over Europe, in a lot of the United States as well, which is where the focus of their markets are, they can't get any income. And these are the ones that are sophisticated enough to be able to do business across borders from their mobile phones or from their homes on their laptops. What do you now expect of the man on the streets who knows nothing except probably to pay for capital? And you now qualify that person as being greedy? I find that quite shocking. Quite shocking from a presidential spokesperson.
Even right now, as we speak, we have a couple of days ago, we had a shortage of premium motor spirits, which what we call petrol, across the FCT. And then we are still met with our inability to have stable and sustainable power supply, yet we are extending these courtesies to foreign nations. We do not have a good number of motorable roads, yet we are making plans to extend roads to foreign countries who have basically no direct bearing on our ecosystem. So like I was saying, there's a basic disconnect in between the governed and the governed. And so it's necessary that we have a complete handshake, because until that handshake is achieved, which is why we have a government, and the government is put in from both the federal to the state and to the local government to ensure that the apparatus of government is not alienated from a certain set of people. And so if we can put this in play, get the wheel of progress rolling effectively and sustainably, we will definitely make a better place of our country, Nigeria, and we'll basically rise up in the Committee of Nations as against our position that we occupy at the moment, which is a rather appalling appalling position that we have. Hello, Habib, are you there? Hello, Habib.
Okay, yes. Sorry, we lost you there for a second. Now, the after effects. Governor Fintiri gives looters 24-hour ultimatum to return stolen items. There are several other states where they are saying that they're going to be doing stuff like house-to-house search. Like one of our viewers has stated, they can get ballot boxes to different wards for people to be able to access voting and for people to vote. But one, they have not been able to put together a comprehensive postal system. They have not been able to even distribute the food, the palliatives that they're supposed to be giving to the people. Now, the police force, undermanned as it is, they actually do believe that the police force has the wherewithal to go from door to door to actually go and search houses.
Okay.
The disconnect is massive.
If I may bring to bear a salient point in this, which you just read, is what we call the wastages in government and the wastages in governance. We've been able to put together a set of persons who have donated palliatives, and these palliatives have been peacefully or non-peacefully looted. And then now that you have identified that they have been carted away by certain individuals, you now want to express state resources to bring them back, up to the extent of even saying that for houses that things will be found, you will revoke their certificate of occupancy. Yes, you are the alpha and the omega because you own the land and all that. But remember, without the persons on the land is priceless and the land is useless.
Oh yes,
the certificate of occupancy that you are revoking only holds value because somebody exchanged value for it. If he had not brought money to process that certificate of occupancy, we would have been living in the Abraham, where everybody just had pieces of land and we're basically foraging left, right, and center. You know, so for me, I understand the need for government to want to take charge of the scenario, but where it comes is the expression of intellect and understanding of how to solve a problem. Because by the time you know what a problem is, your problem is half solved. And so in trying to express your ideas to collect those things, because let me use a typical example. I carted away with the carton of money and I'm eating it. So where do you want to start from in bringing a policeman to my house or in bringing a law enforcement officer to my house to come and check? If they check, by the grace of God, the best they can get is in the septic tank. And in the septic tank, they will not be able to identify what exactly are the particulars in that septic tank. And so it has been carted away. What we should be looking at is how can we forestall these things happening again? That is the salient problem that we need to solve. By the time we start putting those resources to resolve that particular anomaly, we'll go a longer way as against putting government resources to go on the streets, knocking in 774 local governments, trying to recover palliatives, which were not meant to be looted, which if they had done their job, would have gotten to the people at the right time, when they needed it and when it mattered most. And nobody would have had all of these limitations or challenges, and life would have been beautiful as this. That for me is the basic selling point and the basic learning point from all of this drama, albeit the COVID-19 Palliatives Shocker as the topic reiterates.
So, Kevin, who do you think should be held responsible? Is it the federal minister or the state governors?
Okay, remember, let's break it down into the structure of how the palliatives came in.
Okay.
Corporate organizations, through their corporate social responsibility, remember that they can't just even touch their purses without a valid reason. And they touch their purses, which will impact on their bottom lines. By December, when they are giving their financial statements, we will get to see how much all of them remitted in the course of trying to create a purse for this. They express ideas, give material to state governments. Remember, this is not a federal government thing. They gave material to state governments. And so it was the duty of the state governments to distribute palliatives. Remember, those palliatives did not get there on their own. It is those people in that particular ecosystem in those states that took those palliatives. Either you're a driver, or you are offloading the trucks, or you are managing a strong machinery that brings those things down, and then they align them and then save them in the warehouse. And so it was not hard for us to have a nationwide expression of location for where the warehouses are. Yeah. It's those same persons in those locations that basically filled up those warehouses with those things. So I can imagine I am living in a creek, and then they filled a particular route to a house. And then for the course of 3 months, all I saw were trucks coming in day and night. Remember, there's somebody that's a watchman, there's somebody who's a supervisor, there's someone that's overseeing the place that needs to be on ground. He cannot do it remotely. And they are living in that same location. And so
even the people offloading the trucks.
Yes, so they're already feeling the brunt of the hunger, but they are watching materials that they cannot lay their hands on. And in their basic remote levels, or their simple level of sophistication, they know that this materials is for them. And they have waited a month, 2 months, 3 months, and it has not been distributed. And it is for COVID-19 palliatives that we are all locked down and released, and they are still keeping those things. It was only natural that people will explode and say, come, the system is not in our favor. We want to go and peacefully loot what is ours. We saw pictures and videos on social media where the individuals were met with law enforcement officers, members of the armed forces, and when they were further educated by these people, they calmed their nerves and went back to their houses.
Oh, yeah.
So why wouldn't you have just calmed our nerves and shared these palliatives? Why wouldn't you have just calmed our nerves and delivered good governance? Why wouldn't you just have calmed our nerves and live up to your manifesto, which you sold to us a basic oath when you even came to seek for our vote? If they can just live to those basic tenets, life would be better. And we'll all be able to have the Nigeria of our dreams, because me, I am still waiting for the Nigeria of my dream, and I'm still hoping to be a leader in the nearest future, because I'm tired of waiting and listening to we are the leaders of tomorrow. The kids of yesterday are also coming forward and also being indoctrinated into those ideas. And so we now wonder when we all become leaders in our own might and rights, because we are no longer kids. We have, by 2023, the age grade between 16 and 21 will be fully formidable and ready to vote and be voted for in 2023. And so if you do not basically micromanage and put this set of persons in the lights in which they are supposed to go through, then we are going to have what we call the heated policy, and basically everything will go to blazes, which is what we don't want.
Yeah, but I mean, things are already at that tipping point as is, because I've had several discussions with different people about this same issue. Some of the videos that I actually saw online, they were unbelievable. There were a lot of people who actually took stuff out of the warehouse, dropped them outside the warehouse, and walked back in to go and get stuff. And people were walking past those things. So even laws of the jungle, I mean, the jungle has its own code, and these people adhere to it. So if Nigerians can adhere to even the laws of the jungle amongst themselves, come on, why are Nigerian politicians taking Nigerians for granted? Anyway, we're going to take a short break now. I'm going to play a quick video. When we do that, and we come back, Kevin, unfortunately, like we always do on Just Banter, we overrun our time. It's great. It's been great having you on. We have just one more question for you. And that question is this: should somebody be punished for this? Hello, Kevin.
So, okay, like I said, the blame game should not be held on one person. It goes all around, from the coalition that expressed those basic things to the people
Okay, I don't know if you can hear Kevin, but I seem to have lost him totally now. Okay, Kevin. So, for the guests, we'd like to thank you very much for joining us once again. Nigeria, like we always say, is a fantastic and a beautiful country. We don't know why things happen the way they're happening in Nigeria. We know that Nigerians love Nigeria. We know that Nigerians always want to do things. I mean, take a look at this short video clip and tell me what you think. We'll be right back shortly after this. In the midst of it all, Nigerians still celebrating being a Nigerian, singing the national anthem, reciting the pledge at different given opportunities. Now, things do get to change for the better very, very soon. The next elections, the 2023, you're going to have the largest voting bloc coming from those same youths who carried out the NSAS protests. Do we need to talk to them? Do we need to appeal to them? Do we need to relate with them so that we can get it right this time? Probably. Do we need to educate some of them on leadership? Do we need to educate some of them on actually being able to decipher between good and bad when it comes to our office holders? I think a lot has to be done somewhere along the line. 3 years is not a long time, but trust me, it is still a long time and a lot can be achieved. We hope that people who are working towards it, people like Kevin, people like Kunle Lawa, people like Alomada Mustafa, I can name off the top of my head, who have gone and set up different initiatives trying to see what they can do to still contribute to Nigeria being a better place for people to live. 200 million people can't just scatter into the wind. 1 in 7 Black people in the world is a Nigerian. So Nigeria is a very, very important country in the Committee of Nations. So let's hope that we're able to do something interesting very, very soon as a country. Now, as usual, our social messages. Our campaign has not ended when it comes to the issue of rape. We still say no to rape. Like we always tell you, 1 out of 4 women before the age of 18 go through sexual abuse, i.e. rape, in Nigeria. That is massive. That's 25% of the women. And also, 1 in 10 young men before the age of 18 also go through it. Monitor who you leave your kids with. Be careful. Listen very closely to your kids because when they say stuff, a lot of the times, there are underlying comments that your children just cannot tell you out and out, but they are there. So if you listen quietly, you'll be able to pick out what it is that they're saying. Always monitor the people that are around. We seem to have got Kevin back. So Kevin, hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, Kevin. So we're just signing out. We thought we had lost you for the night, so we're just giving our social message. But before we go, let me just complete this social message and then we'll say good night to Kevin. So like I said, 1 in 10 young people, 10 young men go through sexual abuse, i.e. rape, in Nigeria. That's 10%. That's also a lot. So please monitor your kids. Keep an eye on who they relate with, how they relate with them. Listen very carefully to your children. They are saying something whenever they undergo abuse. If you are not careful, you won't hear what they're saying because they might not say it exactly in words. They might actually say it out of the way they behave or from body language. So please, 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 we need a safe and healthy nation. Say no to rape. Use the hashtags on your screen. Say something, tweet something, put something up on the Instagram. Say no to rape, no excuse, no to rape. Now, remember, COVID-19 is also very, very real. A lot of countries across Europe are beginning to shut down all over again. The United States is presently considering shutting down. Several countries in Africa are looking at it, especially in North Africa, because there's spikes everywhere. So please, please, if you can, wear a mask when you're in a public space. Wash your hands as often as you can. Remember to keep a safe distance. It's 2 meters. That's the recommended required distance for you to maintain a safe distance. And please stay safe. We might have to live with COVID-19 for the rest of our lives. So we need to start getting used to the new norm. There's nothing to panic about or panic about. It's just something that at some point we have to get used to, just like the common flu. I just hope it doesn't get worse. Kevin, it's been fantastic having you on.
Thank you very much.
We had one question for you earlier, but unfortunately, we've overrun our time like as usual, and our producers are like, excuse me, it's time to go. So at some point, we hope that we'll be able to have you back on the show and have discussions around different things, especially your experience running for the Senate and being probably the youngest.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming up on the show. So we'll see you again sometime soon, Kevin. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
So, an interesting conversation with Kevin. We've heard his own perspective when it comes to the issue of the COVID palliatives that were not shared to people. Several of our guests have had quite a few things to say. One of them says, it's absolutely disgraceful to see the politicians waiting to distribute the palliatives at their own convenience when there's a lot of hunger in the land. Another one says food is the least they can give to people. And it's true, especially in such times. People pay taxes, people are doing things, people are contributing as much as they can, people are living a lot of things. But you still have more Nigerians being law-abiding than the ones that are non-law-abiding. So why would you starve a whole nation? Why? For someone to give palliatives out on your birthday? Come on. What are you, a sovereign nation? You shouldn't do that. That shouldn't happen. And I hope that more and more people are going to stand up, speak up against this type of ills in our society, especially from the politicians. And we hope at some point, a lot of people will come out, join politics, and show us that they are also conscientious. And then we probably might start having some good rule of law. You all have a very fantastic night. We thank you for coming on the show again tonight, as usual. And we will see you on Sunday when we have a couple of great guests. Yes, not one, not two, actually three. We have a couple of great guests.